This is Fractured Space. So this is like, it's not a MOBA per se, but it's very MOBA-like. So as you can see, there's a lot going on so far. So at the very first thing you're gonna notice that it's a pretty expansive space simulation thing going on here. You have this really big, complex looking ship. You have that planet in the background. You got all these asteroids and these, little objects, scattered here and there with these force fields. And then, over there on the bottom, you got like 15 abilities. On the right, you got a big old map. And at the very top, you have the status of the game. So there's no creeps, and there's no jungling, and you can't actually physically travel from each sector, like Alpha 1, Alpha 2 to Alley Base to Beta 1 and 2. You actually jump from those sectors. So, but within that square, from Alpha 1 all the way down to Alpha 2, is like a big combat zone, a war zone between you, your allies, and the enemy. And the point is to capture objectives, kind of like a domination game mode, except it functions much more like a MOBA where you destroy towers to gain access to the enemy base to destroy the nexus. Except it works in a domination way, where instead of destroying a turret and it goes away forever, and then there's creeps that pound the base. If you take Alpha 1 at the very top of the square, furthest away from our ally base, what that does is that it gives you more resources to upgrade, but more importantly, it allows you to jump to the enemy base. So that's the kind of domination aspect. You capture Alpha 2, you capture Alpha 1, and then by controlling that whole sector, you get to jump to the enemy base. And once you get to the enemy base, you go inside its force field, which you're going to be under a constant barrage of turret fire. But once you get there, you're going to very slowly capture it. And if you capture the base, you win. Except it's pretty difficult. I found this is actually my first game outside of the tutorial with actual players. The tutorial was a little bit weak, but getting a game once you it's actually pretty simple. It looks very complex, but like I said, you're just kind of constantly trying to hit these objectives and clear enemies as they come in. And of course, the death timers go higher and higher over time. But initially, they're pretty short, so you're constantly going to be fighting pretty consistently. So it's a team-based game, right? So the very best way to win is not to outplay your opponent or anything like that. It's to just at least at this relatively low whatever elo level or whatever. I have no idea how that is calculated. I mean, this early into the game, but in these few initial matches, the best way to win is simply to outnumber your opponent. So if you see you always want to jump towards your allies, in other words, instead of trying to capture things on your own, because you're probably going to get out, your enemy is definitely going to want to be teaming up on you, so you want to team up on them instead, kind of thing going on. So we're actually a little bit split. I believe we had someone in Beta 2 or Beta 1 or whatever. But as you can see, we kind of control this half, and then the enemy kind of controls that other half. And then Gamma is I haven't fully explored Gamma. It's pretty complex, but it seems like it's a really big resource gathering kind of place. And maybe it's a way to jump. Well, I was gonna say maybe it's a way to jump from essentially lane 1, Alpha 1, all the way to Beta 1, which is essentially lane 3. But that's why I think it's so much like a MOBA, because you have this separate lanes, and then you have pushing. It's just the one thing you're missing is a creep wave basically, and a jungle. But otherwise, it's pretty MOBA-like in that aspect. And you have all these cooldowns at the bottom. So left click is your regular auto attack fire, right mouse button, and there's actually 3 different ships, so their abilities vary. But for this one, this is the kind of attacker kind of ship, the frontline ship. And the right mouse button, I believe, slows the enemy, which makes it more difficult to kill them. And then it has missiles on the number 2 button, and then on number 1 and a couple of others, it has detection. And I just died right there. I did get a couple kills off first, though. And as you can see, you can upgrade throughout the game. That's kind of like buying items, except you just select attack, defense, or utility. Generally, for this character, I definitely want to go for attack. So this character is really good at attacking and revealing enemies, and generally assaulting the enemy base. The two other ships that I've seen, I'm sure there's more, or probably going to be more, is a more defense and utility. So probably, I think there's a healing ship is the third one, and then the second one is just a more tankier kind of ship. So it kind of has that holy trinity kind of thing going on. You definitely don't want a full team of assault. You definitely don't want a full team of utility or defense. But in these early levels, it's really probably not going to affect you that much. The more important thing is just to team up with your your team. And actually, it looks like the other team is actually assaulting Gamma. Oh, is this Gamma right now? Yeah, this is Gamma. So there's this big space station in the middle, and I love how like the HUD, like the whole HUD on this is so great. I love how like a lot of space games don't really give me that space feeling, but this one does it well with all the UI that kind of pops up over the enemy as you're shooting him and all that. And this game is actually on high settings, 60 frames per second, and my PC is not the most powerful, so it can. I imagine it can run on a lot of. Oh, I just died. I imagine it can run on a lot of PCs, at least on low settings. He has that cool little thing in the top left there, some kind of intimidation factor. So just like we lost because simply they outnumbered us, but luckily my team got in there just a little bit after. But yeah. And you continue to try and push towards the enemy base. And I'm gonna respawn here pretty quickly. I go to this little like tunnely thingy, and then I can just jump right to wherever I need to go. I'm sure there's a lot more like advanced tactics, but I haven't really seen a whole lot of that so far. The outside of this oh, by the way, this is on Steam, so you don't have to worry about like sketchy downloads or anything, which is nice. And it is free to play. There's the typical like you can buy like cosmetics and ships and all that good stuff, and experience points and currency. So it seems fair so far. I'm assuming it's the typical MOBA monetization where it's just you can buy the cosmetics and you can buy the newer, more complex ships, but everyone's gonna have access to the same core set that is as good as the other ones. I'm assuming, at least that's how I would hope. That's how I would hope it would be. It's really complex to get into. Like initially, it was very intimidating, but once you kind of get into it, it's very. If you've played a MOBA game before, it's very familiar. Controlling the ship is okay. I think it could be a little bit. Like I get that these ginormous ships in space, they have to be a little bit not necessarily clunky, but sluggish. And I've definitely felt that I did not have the control I wanted to have over my ship. Maybe like I definitely enjoy. Maybe it's just the ship I was using, because I really want like the fast ship, like the ship that weaves in and out of asteroids and like peppers the enemy. It's almost like a tracer ship, which I think I actually saw. I think it was called like the Liberator. I'm not entirely certain, but yeah, it would be really like the cosmetic appeal in this game could be like amazing, and like all the different characters, quote unquote. It feels a lot like a MOBA in that sense, because you have the different classes essentially. So you have like the marksman, you have the tank, you have the healer, quote unquote. So I think like this game could definitely hit that sweet spot where you're selling different characters and cosmetic models, which all look cool. And I think they could definitely do like a map pack, not like a different map necessarily, but like different visuals. Like I don't know, because I find this like the look on this map is pretty generic. Which I mean, it's space. There's not a whole lot you can do with it, but it's kind of boring to look at. And also, like some of the animations on the ship, like it doesn't look like those boosters are actually boosting very much. But the sound design, like the production quality in general, is actually surprisingly good. I didn't expect it to be this good. For the controls to work so well, for the sound design to be great. There's no music, but there is you have the voice comms and all that. And I know there's no sound in space, but it would be pretty bland if you didn't actually have anything. But otherwise, it's pretty cool. A bit on the generic side in certain aspects, but there's a lot of room for this game to grow. And it is only in alpha, so there's a lot of room for it to grow just to get into an official release. So if you like MOBAs, if you like space sims, this is definitely a great game to check out. And I'm not going to finish the rest of this match because it is incredibly long. I think it goes on for another... It looks like the timer says it's only like 3 minutes or something like that, but I'm pretty sure... I don't think that's the actual game time countdown. I think this game lasts for another 15 or so minutes, which we eventually lose because the enemy just assaulted our base. Well, we tried to attack the enemy base, and it doesn't work like that. But anyway, it's pretty good. It's a MOBA, it's a space sim, sort of, on both of those counts. Close enough, anyway. Thanks for watching.